Moving on to day 4 of your real life simulation. We are going to compare your goals to your actual spending, and then you have some reflection questions, and then we will also fill out your goal budget for month 2. So a little bit busier day to day on stuff. So the first piece is looking at your goals versus your actual spending. So your goals reminder is that budget sheet, like that spreadsheet. And so you're going to want to go back and you'll look at basically all you need to look at for there is I have a little image here is the budget summary, your total goal income and total goal expenses, and then that difference. So that's how you're going to fill in this table right here is you're just going to fill it in just like you see it on that budget sheet. So I'm going to scroll up until I get to that. I don't have one copied on there, but I'm just going to go to the regular one. So and I'll just move this over. So this is what yours looks like for month 1, but it should just be all filled in. And then whatever you have for your goal, your income, and then your expenses, and the difference goes right here. So I'm going to just put in like $2,000, and then I'm just going to randomly put in like 1,900. Okay, and then it is giving me some amounts. So basically this is saying I spent 2,000, or I earned 2,000 in income. Okay, I spent 1,900, and then my difference was positive $100. So it's just $100. However, if say I do the opposite and I make my income more, or my income less than my expenses, you can see that now it's $100. It's in the parentheses, and that means it's a negative number. So now I have negative $100. Okay, so you're going to fill that in based on what this says. So I'm going to go back to my assignment and scroll down. And then, so my goal income, again, yours are going to be your amounts, but $2,000. And then maybe I'll keep what I just had. And then this means it would be a negative $100. Okay, so that's what that piece looks like. So it's just finding it on there. As long as you filled that all out. If you didn't fill this whole thing out, make sure you go back and do that because you can't do this until you did. Again, you want this to be done before you did the register. Okay, and then the next is your actual income and expenses and difference. This is from your check register that you just did above. So that's going to be like this, right? Remember, I just put some of this stuff in. So on here, this is where I'm going to fill in my actual income from the register. So like my income's higher than I was just using, but I would just put in the 2,500, right? And then I would need to, don't put in the 0 because you need to show that you actually went in the hole. So this, changing the credit card piece, you're not going to count that. You're going to go to the negative 300. Hoping that makes sense. Okay, and what you do here now depends on your how you did your expenses. So if I pretend like I stopped, and just ignore this bottom part. I need to go over it 2 ways. So if you have a positive or negative number. So if I ended up with like 200 at the very end, does that make sense? So what I would do is basically I don't have to add up all my expenses, right? All I did was I just didn't spend $200 of it. So I could take that 2,500 or 2,500, subtract $200 for it. That's my expenses. So it would be 2,300. So that's what I would put. Expenses from the register, 2,300. And then I already know I had 200 left. So that's the difference. It's a positive amount, right? So on here, though, if we're saying, okay, what I actually ended up with was 300 in the negative, what I do for this for expenses is I take that 2,500 and then I actually am going to add the $300 to that, and then that's my expenses. So then for this, my expenses would be 2,800. Oops, sorry. I'm going to ignore that. 2,800, and then my difference is going to be that negative 300. Okay, so I'm hoping that makes sense. So you can always check in with me and I can help you with those pieces. Okay, so this is where we're looking at, okay, what were our goals on spending, and then how did we actually spend? Because usually, especially when we're first starting out and getting used to like paying our own bills and like totally living on our own, because some people, even if you're in the dorm situation, it's a little different. It's like a good test. I mean, you still got to watch your spending, but sometimes people just spend way too much or get too many loans and they don't need it. So this is kind of like the real, like, okay, you're out on your own. And so it's figuring that out, and it can take a while. And I'm hoping that you, having done this assignment, it helps you so that you know what to do to prepare next time when it gets there. So on here now we're looking at this and saying, okay, what changes do I need to make to either make it so I can be in the positive, or if you're staying with a positive number, how can maybe you save a little more? What are your goals? So number one is, what is the biggest difference between your budgeted amount and your actual register amount? Meaning for that question, you're probably going to have to go back and look in both. So again, look on your spreadsheet and go, you have to look like, what is the difference? Like, what did I do so different comparatively on the actual register? So just kind of look and see which numbers in my withdrawal column, or deposit, but most likely withdrawal, is different, is really pretty different from my monthly budget. Okay, and you should have differences. This is where if you just filled this out just like your register because you didn't do it ahead of time, you're not going to have much to talk about, and then you lose some points. So keep that in mind. Okay, so that's how you just add that. You just say, what is it, and why was it so different, or what did you learn about that? 2, what do you want to accomplish for the next month? So do you want to save more money? Do you want not to go into a negative amount? Do you want to invest? Do you want to pay off more debt? Do you want to save, like, oh, savings on there already, I talked about it. Okay, what are your goals? And then number 3, what changes will you need to make next month that will help meet those goals? So options are getting a roommate. You can get a second job. You can start shopping at a discount grocer for groceries. You can reduce some entertainment expenses, spend less on a specific thing. Okay, whatever works for you. If getting a roommate or a second job, you can email me or talk with me. I also, as a general rule, if you choose to get a roommate, like take the amount you're paying in rent, add like a couple $100 to it, because you got to pay more for a second bedroom, basically. Add a couple $100 to it, and then you can cut that in half. But that only works if you're living on your own, right? So keep that in mind. If you're like, I already have a roommate and it's really expensive still, then that email and come talk to me and I'll give you a number that you can use. Okay, getting a second job, that one, just check in with me, either email me or you can talk with me in class, and then I'll give you a number that you can use for a second job. Okay, so, but again, look up here and go, okay, what's my spending on here? If it helps, you can look at like your spending on this spreadsheet. Sometimes it's more helpful because it is a little easier to see kind of where you're spending a lot of your money. You know, and maybe some of you are like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize the car I picked is super expensive. And then that's just not going to work, right? In real life, if you buy a really expensive car, especially if it's brand new, you won't be able to sell it for what you bought it for. But if it's used, you might. So that's something I would let you look at, maybe switching on the car payments, but just check with me at first. Like, obviously, you're not going to have a $2,100. I was typing that in for different. But if you have like a $500 car payment, that's huge. For some of you, you might have a $300 one, and that's getting you over your budget. So something to think about when you're looking at that. So just kind of be looking at your entertainment. You know, maybe you won't be able to put as much into savings as you thought. You know, look at what are your options and how to reduce your spending. You could also think about, okay, could I reduce my other bills? Remember that other bills is your internet, your streaming, all of those things are in there. And reminder, your second month, you're not going to have the hookup fees, so you don't have to worry about that so much. So it'll be like $40 less, I think. But you could reduce some of that as well. So just some ideas for you when you're looking at that. Okay. So just fill that down. Oops, I scrolled too far. Okay, so you just fill those out, and then we're going to go on to filling out your budget for month 2 on the month 2 tab. So you just go on to here, and you can kind of see on the bottom here. Oh, you can't see it because it's right here. You can see on the bottom, there's this month 1 is what we were on, and then you click on this tab and it's month 2. So now we're just going to make those goal changes that you talked about in your reflection. And so most of it's going to stay the same. Like if I had a $2,500 salary, that's going to be the same. Maybe though you're like, oh, I really need that second job to help it make ends meet a month. You know, and maybe so you check with me about how much that is. Maybe I tell you like do $400 a month. You're not going to be able to do a huge amount of money for a second job. Like that's working full time and then additional on top of it. So don't go too crazy with it. Okay, your rent you can't change. Whatever that was, keep it the same. Home insurance. Oh, did I not switch that? Oh, yeah. Your home insurance and your auto insurance should be actually combined. So for later, but just put the 15 on here. When you pay later, it's combined. It doesn't matter. Utility bills will stay the same. However, if you're changing it, your rent could change if you got a roommate, right? So like if you had like a $1,000 rent and now you're like, okay, I'm going to get a roommate. You could now have like a $500 rent if you can find a $1,000 apartment, 2-bedroom. And now you'd have $500. Also, your utility bills would go down. Again, you can't cut them exactly in half. You got to add a little bit because 2 people using all the electricity and all that stuff adds to it. But maybe if I had previously 75, maybe this time I could do maybe 65 or 55 for that. Okay, that cuts down. Your phone is still going to be your phone bill, whatever that is. Okay, but your other bills, you could tell me what you're cutting out of your other bills. You can't just cut this down. You have to go to your bills assignment and look at what you're going to take out and then take that piece out. So, but again, be realistic. Like most people need internet. Most people are like, I need some kind of streaming service at least. Like maybe if it's just Netflix, it's Netflix, that's okay. But maybe cut down on some of the things that maybe you didn't need as much. Student loan payments, that can't change. Credit card payment, if you went in the hole last month, you do need to plan on a credit card payment. So maybe like $50. 30 might be the lowest. It just depends on how far you went in the hole. But again, you want to put more in as you can. Okay, car payment, again, see me if you need to make changes. Your insurance should be the same. Fuel should be month number 2 that you're looking at the fuel cost. So look on your personal information sheet part for that because that's a little different than month 1. And again, these are things you can put in before. Your groceries, you can look at making adjustments to a lot of these on here. But again, no less than the minimum. Entertainment, you can make adjustments. You cannot change your health insurance. But you can reduce maybe some of these options. Okay, so just making those changes that fit. If there's any of you that are like, you know, I did fantastic, you might not make very many changes. Maybe you spend a little less in one area so you can save a little more, and that's okay too. Okay, but just looking at what is realistic, but also more doable for you. Okay, so once you fill this out, then that is it for day 4. And you're doing good. Please, again, email me, ask me in class if you have questions. Please don't get stuck. This is a big project. It's worth like, I think, 90 points in the summative. So do your best to get going and keep up with it. All right. Have a great day. See you later.